What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This video is part 2 of every NBA team's target who I think they should try and chase. But before we start, I'm filming this video the day before free agency officially starts. So by the time this video comes out, teams will have already made moves. So this is kind of like a prediction video in a way. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. The first team up is the Dallas Mavericks, and they don't need to target anyone. They just have to hope that Brandon Williams can keep the same level of play that he had to end the season next year until Kyrie gets back. They very well could be one of the favorites to come out of the West as long as everyone stays healthy. They have scoring, a lot of defense, and some serious depth. There's not a ton of weaknesses in their team next year, other than maybe the scoring off the bench. They have a lot of shooters like Najee Marshall and PJ Washington, but if their shots are off, they're really relying on Max Christie to score. But even then, you have Caleb Martin sitting in your reserves, plus Jaden Hardy. If you're looking for some offense off the bench, the Mavs would look to get a point guard like Drew Holiday or D'Angelo Russell to help their offense while keeping the same elite defense. The next team up is the Brooklyn Nets, and the player they should target is Jonathan Kuminga from the Golden State Warriors. The Nets are rebuilding, but don't have that one building block to build the team around. And while Jonathan Kuminga isn't someone you generally want to build the team around, he would be one of, if not, the best players on the roster. They're still looking for a true point guard to go into the future, so they could ask for Brandon Przemski too. The Nets have exactly what the Warriors need, and the Warriors have quite a few players the Nets could be interested in. A hypothetical trade between the two could look like Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson to the Warriors for Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Przemski. The Nets could probably look for a first-round pick or two if they offloaded both Claxton and Johnson, but two pretty good young players is probably better than getting a first-round pick, considering they've got 16 picks from the Kevin Durant, Mikal Bridges, and Kyrie Irving trades that they've already used 5 for. The new Nets lineup could look like this: D'Angelo Russell at point guard if he signs a contract extension, Cam Thomas as shooting guard, Jonathan Kuminga at small forward, Noah Clowney at power forward, and Danny Wolf at center, with Przemski, Jalen Wilson, Dariq Whitehead, Keon Johnson, Drew Timme, Terrence Mann, and their 4 other draft picks off the bench. Moving on to the Denver Nuggets, and the player they should target is Paul George from the Philadelphia 76ers. The Nuggets are in desperate need of a two-way player, and no one would be cheaper than Paul George right now. Both the Nuggets' defense and offense is superbly underwhelming, and while Paul George won't make either one perfect, he does provide two-way versatility that the Nuggets don't have other than Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown. There are some negatives and some risks when it comes to trading for Paul George, like taking on the huge contract Paul George signed last offseason. He's still got 3 years left where he'll be making $51, $54, and $56 million over the next 3 years, and for his production, it's not worth it in the slightest. But the Nuggets should be desperate for him. This season, he only played in 41 games, where he averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on 43% from the field and 35% from free. Hopefully for George, it was a one-time thing, and he bounces back next season. The trade could look like something like Michael Porter Jr., Zeke Naji, and Dario Saric for Paul George. Add in a couple of second-round picks to either team, and it should be a deal. The next team up is the Indiana Pacers, and the player they should target is Nick Richards from the Phoenix Suns. It's nothing major for the Pacers, but they are coming off a finals appearance, so any major change could just ruin the team completely. I could see a world where they target another point guard, with Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles injury, where he'll be out for most, if not, all of next year. But they've got a lot of capable point guards on their roster. Andrew Nembhard is very capable of being the lead guard. Then they can move Benedict Mathurin into the starting lineup and move Ben Shepherd into the permanent rotation as the backup two guard. They also have TJ McConnell, who's more than capable of being a starting point guard on a championship team. All the Pacers centers are off contract. Miles Turner recently signed an extension, but Isaiah Jackson, who missed majority of the season, Thomas Bryant, and Tony Bradley all have no guarantee to be on the Pacers next season. So Nick Richards, who has fallen out of favor with the Suns since they traded for Mark Williams and drafted Carmen Malawach. Richards isn't the perfect backup center, but even if he gets 15 minutes a night, he won't be a bad guy to add or too expensive, especially with also Iguodala also fighting for a spot in the rotation. It'll save them from playing Jarrett Walker at center, who may not be ready yet. All it should cost is a couple second-round picks. The next team up is the Detroit Pistons, and the player they should target is Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. The Pistons are coming off a fantastic season where they won 44 games and were the 6th seed, with the Pistons shooters Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract being expired. There are no guarantee to re-sign Beasley, so Johnson would be a perfect replacement. Johnson being a spot-up shooter would be a perfect fit next to Cade and Jaden Ivey, who like to drive into the paint and kick it out to shooters. Johnson is a career 39% three-point shooter. Just last season, averaged 18 points on 47% from the field and 39% from three. If he's shooting just under 40% from three, when it's a main target for the defense, imagine what he can do when the defense isn't as focused on him. With how good the Pistons were last season, it'll be a dangerous sight for opposing teams. The Nets are tanking, and Johnson isn't or shouldn't be part of their long-term plans. It shouldn't take too much to get him. It should only cost Tobias Harris and a 2026 first-round pick. Maybe add in Bobby Clintman or Marcus Sasser to take on Tobias Harris's contract. Up next is the New Orleans Pelicans, and the player they should target is Jared Allen from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Pelicans are in no man's land. They don't know if they want to contend or if they want to rebuild. But if they do land down the contending route, they're in desperate need of a center. They have Yves Missi, who's their starting and only center on their roster. He had a pretty good rookie season, but they'll be more comfortable with him coming off the bench. Definitely not the one and only center on the roster. With the Cavs' disappointing playoff exit, I could see a world where they do trade Jared Allen, and there have been reports on it. And if they are looking at offers for Jared Allen, the Pelicans should be the first team in line. It should only cost the Pelicans Herb Jones, newly acquired Saddiq Bey, and a future second-round pick. If Saddiq Bey was to be a part of this trade, they would have to wait till the end of August to pull it off. The next team up is the Toronto Raptors, and the player they should target is Darius Garland from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Raptors are in a weird position where they're trying to rebuild, but went out and traded for Brandon Ingram at the deadline, who is a win-now type of player to trade for. So are they trying to win now, or are they wanting to continue their rebuild? If there ever was a time to speed up the rebuild, it's now. With how wide open the Eastern Conference is, especially if this trade happens, you weaken your biggest threat by taking away their all-star point guard. The Raptors have a bunch of young talent, and Darius Garland would fit their timeline. It wouldn't cost the Raptors a whole lot. A trade centered around RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, and draft picks could get the deal done. This season, Garland averaged 20 points and 7 assists on 47% from the field and 40% from three, in probably his most healthy season until the playoffs came around. But he did just have surgery to repair a toe injury and could miss some time to start the season, so that could be a risk in trading for him. Their lineup with Garland looks elite. They have Garland at point guard, Quickly at shooting guard, Brandon Ingram at small forward, Scotty Barnes at power forward, and Jonathan Mogbo at center, with Jamal Shed, Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter, Ochai Agbaji, and their rookies Colin Murray-Boyles and Elijah Martin off the bench. Moving on to the Houston Rockets, and the player they should target is Malik Monk from the Sacramento Kings. Just like a lot of players on this list, Malik Monk is falling out of favor with the Kings, so it'll be more realistic. The Suns have already added a scorer this offseason, and it just so happens to be one of the greatest scorers of all time. But the Rockets are still one more pure scorer away from being real contenders, and Monk definitely has the potential to put them over the top. Monk would be the perfect scoring guard off the Rockets bench. This last season, Malik Monk averaged 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, and 44% from the field, and 32% from three. Malik Monk's scoring and playmaking ability would be elite next to this Rockets defense. Adding Monk would give the Rockets some lineup versatility. Either they could start him with Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, KD, and Şengün, or have him play a similar role he plays in Sacramento, where he comes off the bench, and Jabari Smith Jr. starts at power forward, and have everyone move down the spot. If the Rockets were to get Malik Monk, they would have to give up Jae'Sean Tate, who's currently a free agent, but has a very good chance to agree on a contract extension with Houston, Aaron Holiday, and the Suns' picks in 2027 and 2029. If the Kings say it's enough, but they could have to give up more. Up next is the San Antonio Spurs, and there's no one they need to target. Their roster is pretty much complete, so they should be focusing on staying healthy next year, even though it's nothing they can really prepare for. The Spurs had a pretty much flawless draft where they took the consensus second best player in the draft, Dylan Harper, and took Carter Bryant, who fell to them at 14. They have a ton of scoring in their lineup with De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, Devin Vassell, Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson, and Carter Bryant. They could add in some more perimeter defenders around Wemby. Right now, Stephon Castle is the only real above-average perimeter defender on their team. De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, and their two rookies, Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant, are all decent defenders on the perimeter, but nothing too special. Going into the year, they have a bunch of depth that they could cut loose if they wanted to go all in for a star, but I think, at least for this year, they should keep all their depth and young guys. Their starting lineup could look like De'Aaron Fox at point guard, Stephon Castle at shooting guard, Devin Vassell at small forward, Jeremy Sohan or Carter Bryant at power forward, with Wemby at center, with Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, whoever didn't start at power forward, and either Charles Bassey or Sandro Mamukelashvili. I'm 99% sure I butchered his name, so if I did, I apologize. But whichever one they decide to offer a contract extension to can be the backup center. The next team up is the Phoenix Suns, and the player they should target is Drew Holiday, now from the Portland Trail Blazers. It's no guarantee the Blazers trade him, but if they do, he'd fit right in with the new Suns' defensive identity. The Suns are in desperate need of a point guard, and there's one that's up for grabs sitting in Portland that doesn't want to be there, so reports say. After being one of the worst defensive teams in the league the previous season, the Suns have a new defensive identity with their newly acquired bigs, Mark Williams and Carmen Malawach. Mix that in with Ryan Dunn, Dylan Brooks, Devin Booker, if he can defend like he did in the Olympics, and if they can land Drew Holiday, that's an elite-level defense. With Devin Booker being in the starting point guard for the Suns, they could use the playmaking services of Holiday and putting Devin Booker back to his preferred position of shooting guard will be best for both parties. The Suns could offer Grayson Allen and Kobe Bryant or Rasheer Fleming. The Blazers should accept the offer, considering Holiday is 35 and making a bucket load of money. That move could definitely make the Suns a surprising playoff team. Moving on to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the player they should target is Colin Sexton from the Charlotte Hornets. Colin Sexton was recently traded from the Jazz to the Hornets, so it may be a little harder to trade for him, because the Hornets may be a little hesitant to trade him a couple months after trading for him. But Sexton would be the perfect guard for the Thunder after just coming off a championship. The Thunder have one of the best defenses of all time, and Colin Sexton plays with a lot of intensity. He isn't the greatest defender, but he does buy in on the defensive end, and he would improve their offense that isn't the greatest. Last season, Sexton averaged 18 points and 4 assists on 48% from the field and 40% from free. It would take a lot to pry Sexton away from Charlotte, but the Thunder have a lot to give. They have a ton of picks coming up that they won't be able to use, so they will have to trade them at some point. They have 12 first-round picks and 17 seconds coming up until 2032. So a trade that's centered around Jalen Williams, who isn't getting playing time, over Chet and Hardenstein, or Ousmane Dieng, and the first-round pick or two for Sexton, is a win-win trade for both teams. AJ Mitchell could be another player to throw in a trade. If they're unable to get Sexton, someone like Malik Monk would be another great addition, someone that's going to come off the bench and give you 20 points on any given night. The next team up is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the player they should target is Scottie Pippen Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. It's clear that Mike Conley is not the answer to the Timberwolves' point guard problems anymore. They need a point guard badly, and with the Grizzlies being one of the only teams with cap space, they will probably go after Ty Jerome to be their backup point guard to Ja Morant, which will mean Scottie Pippen Jr. could be on the way out. With the Grizzlies' lack of success in the playoffs, and them trading away Desmond Bane, it leaves a hole in the Grizzlies' guard depth. Scottie Pippen Jr. would be a great pickup for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They desperately need his playmaking and shot-making ability, with Mike Conley getting older and getting worse year by year. In 79 games last year, Scottie Pippen Jr. played 21 minutes a night, where he averaged 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists on 48% from the field and 39% from free. In his per 36, he averaged 16 points and 7 assists, so if he gets minutes, his counting stats prove he can produce. It'll be a good under-the-radar pickup for the Wolves, but only if the Grizzlies sign Ty Jerome or a better backup point guard. The next team up is the Portland Trail Blazers, and there's not a singular player they should target. They should be looking to trade away guys like Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, and Robert Williams to give them more depth, especially on the bench. They have an overall complete starting lineup of Scoot Henderson at point guard, Shaedon Sharpe as shooting guard, Danny Advia as small forward, Tumani Kamara at power forward, and Donovan Clingan at center. but their bench of Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, Matisse Feibel, and Hansen Yang could use some serious work. They could get some development from their young guys like Sidi Sissoko, Ryan Rupert, Chris Murray, and Jabari Walker, but that's more than likely not happening. A team like the Kings should be desperate for Drew Holiday's defense and could offer quite a lot for him. Or the Lakers could get desperate for a center like Robert Williams and could give up a ton for his services. As long as they don't trade anyone for pennies on the dollar, like they did with DeAndre Ayton, by just releasing him, should be good. Moving on to the Golden State Warriors, and the player they should target is Nikola Vucevic from the Chicago Bulls. The Warriors have a very short window to win a championship, with their core players Curry, who's 37, Jimmy Butler, 35, and Draymond Green, 35, all being towards the end of their career. And Nikola Vucevic, already being 34, fits their timeline perfectly. The Warriors struggled offensively in the playoffs, especially when Steph Curry went down, and a big that can stretch the floor, that is way more consistent and a better scorer than Quinton Post is perfect for this team. The Warriors have the defense to hide Vucevic's struggles defensively. Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler both are incredible defenders that can allow Vucevic to focus most of his attention on the offensive side of the ball. This season, Vucevic had a bounce-back year where he averaged 18.5 points and 10 rebounds on 53% from the field and 40% from free. Vucevic next to Curry would be an elite 1-2 punch, and Curry could open up shots to Vucevic that could make him even more dangerous. The Warriors' biggest weakness was that they had no real guy to protect the rim and grab rebounds, and while Vucevic isn't a rim protector, he is a double-double machine. With the Bulls' recent history of trades, we could see a sign-and-trade where Chicago sends Vucevic to Golden State for Jonathan Kuminga straight up. And the last team up is the Washington Wizards, and there's no player they should target. They should be worried about playing and trying to develop all their young guys and hope to get lucky in the lottery next season by getting a top pick. They have a bunch of young guys like Alex Sarr, Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington, Keyshawn George, Will Riley, AJ Johnson, Jameer Watkins, Tristan Vucevic, and newly acquired Dylan Jones from the Oklahoma City Thunder that are mixed in with a bunch of veterans like CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, and Kelly Olynyk that have much better veteran presence than guys like Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole that they had at the beginning of last year. That's gonna end this video. Let me know in the comments below who you think these teams should target in the offseason.